Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Tanya Wilson.
Obviously, I'm shorter than everyone else. This has been a long time coming. I thought it would be easy to write my speech. I thought I could do it from the heart, but I didn't want to start rambling because by this point you guys have been sitting long enough and you're just ready for it to be done. So I did write a speech and I'll try and stick to it. I timed it, it's only 7 minutes, so that should help you guys. And I just said by the way. I've been told that they're going to count my ums today. So thank you, EXO, DJ, Donovan, Michelle, Chris, and Senior. I have to give a shout out to you because he's the one that put together my shadow box. So thank you guys for helping. Donovan. Well, the unfortunate part is most of my speech about Donovan was almost exactly what he said about me and the ranking and following suit. He always liked to remind me that he ranked above me, that I had to salute him. As a matter of fact, he reminded me yesterday that when I saw him today that I better salute him. So he just took a paragraph off of my speech. I know that you were worried. I think you spent the last 3 days in the queue trying to write this, and last night, finally about 2200, he posted that he finally got the 3rd draft done and that he was going to get some sleep. And his last comment was that I hope that it does for justice. And I have to tell you that you did. You always do. So thank you. So there's many people that's touched my life, making me the sailor that I am, making me the officer that I am. And a few of them are here today, and you guys all know who you are. If I start naming names, I'm going to forget somebody, and I don't want to do that. So I will tell you that everyone sitting here has touched me in some capacity, especially those that are playing a role or that are taking a role in this retirement ceremony. I definitely appreciate it, and I asked you for a reason, so thank you. There's a few leaders that I've had throughout my career that have really made a difference in who I am and how I am. I've always been a take charge person. That's probably why I became an officer, because I like to be in charge, and people got really ticked off at me as an enlisted person trying to take charge. So, but I had a couple mentors along the way. My first Master Chief, she was actually a civilian at my command, and she was a reserve, I think she was a reserve YNC at the time. She took me under her wing as a young second class and molded me and helped push me, because as Donovan alluded to, I had a pretty rough time. But she pushed me and made me realize that it was limitless. What I wanted to do, I could do as long as I worked hard enough, as long as I pursued it hard enough. And it took a lot of drive and dedication, which I think has always been inside me. So I want to thank her, Master Chief Harlan. I know she's not here today, she's had some health issues, but I want to make sure that I thank her for that. The other leader that I had was my very first CO as an officer. Now, I had been enlisted for 12 years as a TAR, so for any of you that know what TAR is now, it's FTS. So it's really hard to get to a ship. So when I first stepped forward on a ship, on a frigate, I had been in the Navy for about 12 years. So when I got on board, there was lingo that we had been taught at boot camp that had long since left my mind. So it was a very hard learning curve for me, and it was a challenge to go from a first class who had been in for 12 years, that had earned the respect of their peers and chiefs and superiors, to a lowly ensign coming straight out of graduating with my degree in Stage 21 and not having that respect. You had to earn it, which fortunately I think that I did. But through that, I had Captain Gordinier. He was the first CO that I had, and he was the kind of captain that didn't get mad and scream and yell, but he was one of those men that you revered because you respected him, because he was like your father or your grandfather, depending on the age of the sailors. For them, it'd probably be more like grandfather. But he was well respected. All it took was a look, and you knew that you actually out here. We were stationed in Everett. We had come out to San Diego to get some work done, and we were outside the channel. We were just going DIW, so just kind of tooling around because we had to come, somebody had to get on the boat, they had to get on the rib, and come in and get some luggage from a Coast Guard base. So this was my gig. I was the boat officer that day. It was my first time being boat officer. So he says, go to the Coast Guard base and pick up this luggage. You know where you're going? Sure. I had my engineer, I had my boatswain mate, so I thought I knew where I was going. So I come inside the channel, I pass up the first base, which I didn't realize there was one there. I go all the way into the other side of the base. Now my CO is expecting this to take about 10 minutes. But really, it took me about 45. Roger, were you on board during that? Okay. I think it took me about 45, which meant I was delaying my ship from movement. Now, that's not good. So when I finally made it back, and we lost radio signal too, by the way, long story, but anyways, we had no way to radio in saying where we were at. So when I finally made it back, I get on board, and I think it's the first time he ever cussed at me, but it wasn't really harsh. He just said, "What the hell were you thinking?" And he gave me this look, and I just started crying. I knew that I had disappointed him. I didn't mean to. I thought I knew where I was going. But at that point, it made me realize that that's the kind of leader that I wanted to be. That's the kind of leaders that I wanted. Because it's not someone that's out to prove something to you or to anyone else. It's about leading and mutual respect. He respected me, but more importantly, I respected him because he gave me that respect. And I always hoped that throughout my career, throughout my tours as a DIVO, that I could do the same thing for the people that I led, and that I would have the same leaders. And I've been very fortunate here at Fleet ASW to have that type of leadership. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Captain Gordonier for that as well. The last person I want to recognize is Senior Chief Benequid. I have served with many chiefs, many senior chiefs, and I've served in Afghanistan with some Air Force E-7s and E-8s, and I always struggled because it seemed like there was always I'm a type A personality for those of you who don't know me, okay? I really do like to take charge, so that's kind of hard when you butt heads with chiefs and senior chiefs and even master chiefs. But I have been very blessed here at Fleet ASW because Senior has been a godsend to me. When I moved over to Sonar Department last year, he seems like he's really quiet. He's kind of one of those CO types, like Captain Gordonier, but as a senior chief. He seems very quiet and mild-mannered, but if you make him mad, watch out. Because all it takes is the look. He's shaking his head, but he knows it's true. He helped. I think that all of us DIVOs and Sonar that have been there can say that he was the backbone for us. He helped us. If he didn't know it, he was going to find out and let you know it. If he was on something, you didn't have to worry about it. And I appreciate that because you made my time, especially my last year here, very successful, and I know I owe a lot of that to you. My Officer of the Year Instructor of the Year package was his writing. He did that. So it was a joint effort between the two of us. So I just want to make sure that you understand that I do appreciate it, and thank you very much. So I hope as I leave the Navy that I can look back and know that I made an impact on others, like you guys, like the people that I've mentioned have made on me. Obviously I want to know that I left a mark, but that's not quite as important. But I always hoped that I would be the sailor that other chiefs wanted in their division because they knew you were a hard charger. Or the DIVO that other sailors wish they had, or chiefs wish that they had, because they knew that you were going to run the show, they were going to run the show, and you were going to make them look good too. Really? So, because that's really how it works, guys, and I know that. Our chiefs, our senior chiefs, our master chiefs, they do it for us. We give them the credit because they deserve it, and then we look good too. So, I always want to be the DIVO that made sure I get credit where it was due. I used to be there. I was a seaman scrubbing the that stood before the students trying to teach them, hoping that they were as eager to learn as I was to teach. So I grew up in the ranks, and then I crossed over. Some of them say I crossed over to the dark side, but my paycheck says differently. I spent countless nights laboring over books and papers. Calculus and physics was going to be the death of my career, and I knew it. Asked my husband. It was horrible. I think that they all wanted to move out that last semester of college. But it wasn't the death of me, and I survived. I persevered, I got help, and I made it. I graduated with my bachelor's, and then I commissioned that same day. Then it was sleepless nights on watch. Mid-watches, rev watches, trying to wrap my head around surface warfare. I was the officer of the deck, conning officer, and after struggling to obtain my SWO pin, became a special evolution OD and an unrep conning coach as part of the A-team with my fellow shipmate, Lieutenant Roger Young. We were both part of the A-team. He drove the ship and I drove the checklist. That's what you said I'm good at too, right, babe? Driving the checklist. I loved being an OD. I loved being underway. I hated being away from family, but I really loved being the con as well. I loved driving the ship. I kind of fit there. It felt good. I may not have fully understood the SWO concept at that time, but after about 6 tries for my SWO pin, I finally got it. 6 tries, yes. Yes. I couldn't have succeeded, though, without the help of my peers and my leaders alike, as I've already mentioned. I would not have been the Divo that I was without my guys. And all of you here that used to be my guys, that I was your Divo, you will forever be called my guys. Sorry. I spent 20 years driving my career through many challenges, currents, twists, and turns through the waters. But I finally made it, and now I can moor this career to start yet another. I thank each and every one of the friends that I've made throughout my career. Words can never do justice to express the profound thanks for the life and career that I've had because of you. I thank God for the opportunity to serve my country proudly, my family, and the people that I've served with for the opportunity to learn from every one of you. Finally, to my family, my husband and my kids, and my parents who couldn't make it here. You guys have been my anchor. You have watched me work my way through all my challenges and overcome obstacles and drive to succeed. You've stood by on the pier or at home as I left underway, on the other end of the phone or the computer, trying to see your face from afar. You were moved frequently, lost friends, made friends, and then lost them again due to a move. Changed schools many times, more than I can count probably. Changed careers a couple times. So I'm sorry for that. But I do appreciate the support. And I'll always hope and pray that I set a good example for you. That you saw in me that if you wanted something bad enough